All right. When was the first moment? No, that's not going to work. All right. When was the first moment that you were completely overwhelmed by embarrassment? For some people, it might have been when they expressed interest in their childhood crush with not so many favorable results. For others, it may have been dropping a hot, stinky steamer in the back of their tidy whities at the first grade spelling bee when they were in front of the entire school. And some of y'all have never felt shame or embarrassment one time in your entire life. And look, I'm talking to you, Pokemon scalpers. You greasy, neck-bearded dingleberries who set up your camping chairs outside of a GameStop at 2 o'clock in the morning so you can rip a booster box out of a kid's hand and that kid is dying from leukemia. I like cards as much as the next guy, but the levels that you guys are taking this to is actually demonic and diabolical. I hate all scalpers. You should all be tarred and feathered. Feeling embarrassed is one of the most valuable feelings that you can have as a human being. In that moment, you are faced with two choices on how you are going to take that embarrassment and grow with it. You can take it all in, you can reflect on your actions, and you can admit to yourself the fact that you just called your boss dad and you didn't mean to, and guess what? You'll probably never do that again. Or you can double down and you can realize that the thing that the people are trying to embarrass you about, that thing is actually a crucial part of your personality. I remember the first time that I felt extremely embarrassed. When I was growing up, my parents, we didn't have satellite or cable TV in our house at all. We only had those digital converter boxes that would capture and convert TV signals that were coming over the air from local channels. For all the squilliam fancy sons out there who all had cable, well, MeTV was an over-the-air channel that exclusively played syndicated shows, ranging from the 50s with shows like The Andy Griffith Show, all the way up to the 90s with shows like The Nanny. MeTV, it was my favorite channel because there was one show that would come on at 6 o'clock at night every single weeknight. And I always looked forward to watching it with my dad when he would get home from work. And this show, it just happened to be Adam West's Batman, the Caped Crusader, Robin, the Batcave, the Batmobile, every popular enemy of Batman that you could ever imagine. Those goofy little campy fight scenes. This show had my young mind captivated beyond belief. One day, I went to recess and I heard all my friends out there talking about last night's most recent episode of whatever show was popular at the time. Let's just say Drake and Josh, okay? Little me trying to join into the conversation, I asked if anybody had watched last night's episode of Batman. As my question hit the eardrums of these 7-year-olds, well, they all looked at me like I had just given them a blood transfusion with
AIDS-contaminated blood.
Remember how I said I used to watch this show with my dad? Well, this was a show that he watched when he was growing up. So I was about 40 years too late to the party. But the thing is, in that moment, I was faced with those two choices that you have when you're embarrassed. And you know what? I doubled down. Outside of my love for this Batman show, the perfect hurricane of fandom was brewing inside my almond-sized 8-year-old brain. Obviously watching that 60s Batman TV show, to visiting the library to check out books, which was me just renewing The Killing Joke over and over and over again. And especially one of the greatest cinematic masterpieces to be released of, I'd say, all time, Christopher Nolan's The Dark Knight. It really had me locked into this Gotham universe. So on a hot day during elementary school summer vacation, one game in particular caught my eye on the Xbox downloadable digital store. Take a guess which one it was. This had everything I could ever... Oh, I almost threw up. Sorry. Let's do that again. This had everything I could ever imagine in a Batman game. Awesome bat gadgets and utilities like from the 60s show. The darkness and the eeriness of The Killing Joke. And the combat of The Dark Knight from Christopher Nolan. I recently picked it back up. Let me tell you what. It is absolutely beasted up, cheese mode, mega dope, 50 trillion. You know what? I think it's time that we take a deep look into Batman Arkham Asylum is an action-adventure game developed by Rocksteady Games and published in conjunction with Eidos Entertainment and Warner Brothers Interactive Entertainment. Released in 2009, this game was initially released for the Xbox 360, the PlayStation 3, and PC. with Batman's first appearance being in Detective Comics issue number 27 on March 30th of 1939. There have been a variety of Batman appearances throughout media spaces. Comics, well, they're obviously the one true home of the Caped Crusader, but he mainly spread his mass appeal to audiences through a more commercial medium, TV and movies. From his first appearance on the big screen in 1943's Batman, which was like a serial movie. This was basically a TV show before TVs were popular. To Adam West, popularizing the character even more in the 1960s show, all through the stretch of that decade-long period with a lot of different movie-fronting Batmans, like Michael Keaton, or Val Kilmer, or George Clooney, all to the on-screen Batmans that we know today. We got the Dark Knight, Christian Bale, to the Fart Knight, Ben Affleck, now the Goth Knight, Robert Pattinson, which, mind you, fun fact, we share a birthday. But sharing the media sphere alongside these different theatrical releases were not just the comics, the novels, or the television series. There were Batman video games, and they just kind of sat in the corner with a dunce cap on. And not just Batman, but overall just a lot of superhero games in general. Superhero games before Arkham normally, I know there's exceptions, okay, focused on one aspect of a game. Like you got side-scrolling or top-down beat-em-ups. There were some racing games. And while technological innovation, it allowed some games to break through this mold, like Spider-Man 2 or Batman Vengeance. None of them really hit the nail on the head when it came to combining atmosphere or complete character utilization, and especially storytelling. Arkham Asylum, it changed this superhero game stigma forever, combining an insanely dark atmosphere, complete use of every incredible thing that this character had to offer, and even a story that will go down as one of the greats. Arkham Asylum, it hit the shelves on August 25th of 2009. Slashing all previous expectations or wants that any avid comic book video game enjoyer would have going into this experience. Normally, this is the part of the video where I'll drop in some sales numbers, but this game, it has been released, re-released, ported, bundled, given in like a subscription model service so many times that a real obtainable number for sales figures is just unobtainable. So for fun,
Let's make one up.
selling over 15 trillion copies. Arkham Asylum, it helps standardize and pioneer a lot of the video games as we know them today. Batman Arkham Asylum, it starts you off by you flying down the roads of Gotham on your way to Arkham Asylum with a special delivery. The Joker has just been apprehended. Batman, he's breaking every single street law that's known to man to return him to the custody of Arkham Asylum. The mechanical steel doors of Arkham, they unlock. And Batman just stands in front of the doors, absolutely aura farming to the max, while Joker's on his knees just getting ready to surrender. Or so we think. Joker, he does what he does best, and he makes some quick jabs at the warden. He starts schmoozing it up with some of the guards, and he's strapped into a Hannibal Lecter-style dolly, and he starts getting wheeled through the halls of Arkham. As Joker is scooted into the intake patient area of intensive care, Batman, he daps up his day one homie, Commissioner Gordon. After they're done linking up, Batman, he leans into Gordon a little bit, and he tells him that he's got a little bit of an eerie feeling about what's about to happen here at Arkham. He said Joker gave himself up way too easily and that he needs to be in the room with him while he's being searched and prosecuted or whatever. Well,
Guess what?
Batman's suspicion, it was correct. As the room where the guards told Batman not to enter with Joker ends up being the room where Joker breaks out. In this whole fiasco of whimsy and wonder that's going on, you find out that Harley Quinn, she's the one who actually took over the security at Arkham. And one of those guards that Joker was shooting it with, well,
Yeah, they're homies, and he's corrupt.
he helped Joker, and that guard, he kidnapped Commissioner Gordon. Joker informs you that he's taken over Arkham, and he says that he's planted bombs all over Gotham, and if anybody steps foot on the island, that they are going to blow them up, which overall puts you in a situation where you need to work alone. And he tells you, Batman, that you need to work your way through the asylum and go into his traps to be able to find him. All right, look, let's just keep a long story short, okay? The overarching theme here is that every time you solve a problem, another one arises. Basically, what's going on here is that Joker is using Bane's venom, the juice that runs through him to make him all jacked. He's using that to create a new chemical compound called Titan. Basically what it does is it turns people into permanent and stronger versions of Bane. To eventually at the end you fight
Steroid maxing Joker.
and you end up taking control of the asylum. That's really it. But not really. This story is actually so incredibly intricate and complex and compelling, but I'm not going to go into full excruciating detail here, because if I did, this video would be like 4 hours long, because it is that extremely robust with world building. But what I am going to do is I'm really going to highlight some of the dopest parts about this story to really shine a light on some of the incredible decision making here that was made by Rocksteady. Pacing that's used here to help you navigate this storyline is probably one of the best forms of pacing that I have ever seen in a video game story. I saw something a while ago about the writers of South Park where they were talking about one of the most important things that you need when you're writing an efficient and in a compelling story. In between the beats of a story, you need to focus on having the words therefore or but to kind of help indicate smooth transitions in between story beats. Arkham Asylum, it does this so flawlessly throughout its story to really make the character feel the weight of the implications of other actions that are being brought onto him by opposing forces. Great example here, right? Batman discovers that the corrupt guard is actually qualified to be our defense secretary. You know, an alcoholic. Therefore, he can use his detective skills and equipment to track down Gordon. Another example. Batman finds out from Poison Ivy that the antidote that is needed to be able to cure Titan, the main ingredient is a flower that is found only in Killer Croc's lair. Therefore, he must go down to Killer Croc's lair to collect the samples. Do you see what I mean by this? The therefores in this story allow Batman to navigate throughout different portions of the asylum, to different villains, or to accomplish some new goal with a purpose. The pacing used by the writers here was so incredibly crucial and executed so flawlessly to make this story-heavy game feel consistent. The second aspect about what makes this story so enticing is the wide variety of villains that they use throughout the plot progression. What better place to have almost all of Batman's main villains up against him in one central location than Arkham Asylum? The perfectly orchestrated list of villains: Joker, Harley Quinn, Bane, Scarecrow, Poison Ivy, Killer Croc. All the different villains' appearances in this game all come together to really help shape this story together in ways outside of the cool cameos or like obvious fan service. Each of these villains plays such a meticulous role in helping shape Batman's experience throughout working through Arkham Asylum. Like Joker, he orchestrates the entire thing. Harley Quinn, she's in charge of the whole security system. She also takes Gordon hostage. Bane, he's the catalyst behind the entire Titan formula. Sidebar, I love that Batman's whole thing is that he doesn't kill people or whatever, but then after you're done fighting Bane, he launches the Batmobile at Bane like it's Caitlyn Jenner on a casual Tuesday. What did you think was going to happen there, Batman? Like Bane wasn't going to drown to death with a 10,000-pound tank sitting on top of him? By the way, at the end, he doesn't. Nice way to cover up an inconsistency, okay? Anyway, Scarecrow's there to show you the delusions and the insanity of all the different things that are going on inside Arkham, but also inside of Batman. Poison Ivy's there for her knowledge on the Titan formula cure, and when she gets injected by the Titan, she ends up destroying the island too. And I mean, Poison Ivy's there for other reasons too, right? And Killer Croc, he's there because his lair houses the cure for the formula. This like isn't one of those stories where it's like, hey, I'm the Junker and I'm gonna punch you in the head, Batman. Oh yeah, and by the way, Mr. Freeze is here too. Their life, their world, their crucial involvement in this story all revolves around their place and their purpose on the island. And outside of the writing, look, we cannot talk about this game without talking about the 1990 Chicago Bull roster of voice actors we had playing these characters. We got the GOAT, number one, Kevin Conroy, voicing Batman. We got the second GOAT, Mark Hamill, Luke Skywalker himself, voicing the Joker. These dudes are the Jordan and Pippen of the Batman universe, dog. I will go on record right now on Cornborn Channel in the cornfield. I will go on record and say that Kevin Conroy and Mark Hamill are the two best people to ever play these characters ever. Nobody embodies these characters like these two handsome gentlemen did. It was just masterful acting. It was masterful writing. The third thing that made this story so incredibly dope, it really comes down to two factors. Those two factors are subject matter experts and source material. Let's take my beloved Star Wars as a prime example. Disney absolutely wiped its musty cheeks with the source material, hired two guys who were not even remotely close to being subject matter experts to direct those movies, and guess how they turned out? Just kidding. You don't even have to guess. We all witnessed the horror that this mouse did to our franchise. But then look what happened when they brought in Dave Filoni, a complete Star Wars nerd, to oversee Star Wars The Clone Wars. We get the best series in the entire Star Wars universe, with his magical brain tentacles touching on any other project that was surrounding it in its near orbit. So Rocksteady, actually having half a brain and wanting to please its fans, brought in a resident expert to help write the Batman Arkham Asylum story. Our knight in shining armor himself, Paul Dini. Well, look, to an average outsider, Paul Dini, he sounds like he'd be like the guy that killed Tony Soprano at the end of The Sopranos. He is actually royalty in the Batman universe. He was a writer, a producer, and an editor on one of the most beloved series in all of the Batman lore and mythos, Batman, the Animated Series. This guy is so integral to the world building of Batman. He was the co-creator of the renowned love affair of the Jonkler, Harley Quinn. Bringing Dini on to pen this story was the best decision that Rocksteady could have ever made throughout its development process. So we got a subject matter expert. Second thing would be, what is the source material that they referenced while making this game? Throughout all of Batman's different appearances throughout his anthology, one piece of the pie was mainly used to set the tone of this game. Grant Morrison's 1989 graphic novel, Arkham Asylum, a serious house on serious earth. I had actually never read this graphic novel before, so to become a little bit more of a subject matter expert myself, I rented the ebook on using my library card on an app called Hoopla.
I love the library.
It took me like an hour to read, so if you have a library card, download Hoopla on your device right now. Get to reading. I actually love this comic so much that I went out and I bought a physical copy of it to keep in my collection. Let me tell you what. This novel is horrifying. In this graphic novel, the themes of exploring madness and the circumstances that drive someone to insanity are explored heavily. This is what I absolutely love about DC Comics. It's not like Marvel where it's like a dopey-eyed Spider-Man being like, "Oh, Mr. Stark, I got a pop quiz and math quest tomorrow. I can't make it to the superhero event. Clean up on Isle, New York, am I right?" Well, in this graphic novel, Amadeus Arkham, the founder of Arkham Asylum, he explores repressed memories of killing his own mother with a shaving knife because she was just going insane. And eventually he walks into a room to see his absolutely disfigured wife and his decapitated daughter, her head sitting in her
Playhouse.
And inevitably all of these things end up making him a patient of his own facility. This Arkham universe, it is
Dark, dude.
the theme of repressed trauma and fear being directly linked to insanity. It directly translated into the world building in this game. From the Chronicles of Arkham, which where if you were walking around, you'd see those little beetles hanging up on the wall. You'd go up and you'd turn your detective mode on and flash it, and it would give you a little sound bite of Arkham talking about the history of the building and his lore and his history. To the interview tapes that were kept around Arkham of the psychologists and the villains having their intake talks. And especially Scarecrow's demon hellscape fear world. These different artifacts of world building, they really help shape the environment together to help deliver that message that all insanity, it stems from fear. And you know what? It raises the question: Is Batman just insane as the criminals that he pursues? He has just as much fear and trauma as all those criminally insane. Just because he doesn't kill or commit crime, it doesn't mean he's not exactly like them. But the thing is about this game and that comic is it's kind of up for you to decide. But the combination of the incredible pacing, well-placed and well-acted characters, and utilizing source material and subject matter experts, those things, they truly made this story incredibly dope. The art style that's used throughout Arkham Asylum is incredibly iconic and memorable for a variety of different reasons. To start, this game, it was released on the 7th generation of consoles, the Xbox 360 and the PlayStation 3. Throughout the history of console development, companies like Microsoft and Sony, they were always trying to push the boundaries of realism throughout its console experience. 7th generation of consoles, that was the generation that crossed over that line that had a point of no return. With advanced graphics cards, fully HD compatible gaming, and fully programmable shading, Xbox 360 and the PlayStation 3, it set a staple in computing history. This is one of the biggest reasons why Arkham Asylum, it still holds up today. Graphics in this game, they are just incredibly beautiful, with character models being extremely detailed, buildings and landscapes being perfectly articulated, and the lighting and the shading across models to truly immerse you in this gothic world. It makes this entire game a cinematic experience. Speaking of cinematic, the use of rendered cutscenes here were shot so uniquely. Most games just have characters standing in frame, spitting dialogue, and just being goofy. But in Arkham Asylum, they utilize cutscenes to feel more like a movie, to overall create a more enhancing experience. For example, like when two characters are talking, they'll always just show the characters just shooting from chest up and just continuously panning the camera. Or another example would be like when you walk up to Killer Croc's door, camera slowly pans up from behind you to the window on the door, jump scaring the player with this monstrous beast. The hard cuts, the slow panning of the camera, the portrait style framing for these characters. All these things really combine to really build tension for the player and make them feel more immersed in a game that feels more like a horror game than just some sort of campy Batman video game. Outside of graphics and the general use of cinematography, there's another factor in this art style that really helps cement this game's legacy. The art style that is used in the user interface, the different skill tree enhancements, the interview tapes with the villains, to the character profiles, or even the gadget selection menu. They all have this comic-based sense to them that really ties in like more of a comic world to this reality-based world that the developers are trying to present to you. With different art styles being present across this game, there is one major theme here that looms over the entire atmosphere in every single building that sits on this island. And that's Gothic architecture. See, because in the 12th century, flying buttresses were created. No, I'm just kidding. The Gothic architecture and atmosphere that looms over the entire island is what really nails down that feeling of fear being projected in this game. Even into the late 1800s, most mental asylums, they had this similar style of architecture. So using this style of architecture across all of the different buildings really helps solidify that feeling of insanity, no matter which building you were about to enter into. Hell, even when you first drive into Arkham, there are two giant hooded angels standing there holding lamps at the entrance. If that doesn't scream Gothic, then this doesn't either. But outside of the exterior architecture of the buildings, the interiors perfectly showcase the reality of living inside of a mental institution. From the intensive care unit to the Arkham Mansion, even like the botanical gardens. These buildings on the inside have such a creepy and overwhelming and just kind of distraught atmosphere to them. Lights blown out, empty gurneys for patients, dead guards and prisoners around every corner, even like tortured employees of Arkham. The atmosphere, it can be described in one word: dark. Overall, the combination of the improved and higher fidelity graphics, the different Gothic architecture and atmosphere, the intertwining of comic and reality, and that extremely violent and dark atmosphere really made all these art styles and worlds just incredibly dope. The gameplay of this game is an incredible amalgamation of everything that a Batman game should be. Batman is the world's greatest detective, so in this game, you often utilize his detective skills. He is the Caped Crusader, so the game actively utilizes his extreme martial arts knowledge to hit combos and takedowns and absolute cheek whoopage. He is the Dark Knight, so the game prominently forces you to become the Knight, track, hunt, and destroy enemies. So what are some of the gameplay mechanics that actively contribute to the player's Batman experience? Detective mode is one of the most iconic gameplay mechanics that is used across the Arkham series. Utilizing some of Batman's incredible detective skills, you are given the ability to switch your vision, to see things that the average person can't see. For example, Commissioner Gordon, he smokes tobacco out of a pipe. When he is kidnapped, you can use your detective abilities and technology to be able to track down the specific and exact tobacco that he was smoking out of that pipe. Another example, when Dr. Young, when she disappears from her office, you use your detective skills to scan her fingerprints on a safe and work your way through the mansion to find out where she ended up last. It really set the foundation for implementing detective-style gameplay into a game about the world's greatest detective. Another form of this technology, it shifts over when you're fighting people. This is called Predator mode. No, not those predators. Predator mode, it literally allows you to see through human flesh. It allows you to see heart rates and even conditions of the people that you are about to hunt. Predator mode is extremely helpful when you're about to engage in a stealth mission. The stealth combat in this game was such an incredible addition to the overall gameplay experience. Just a quick reminder for you, Batman is just a guy. He has no powers. He has no magical ability. He has no special space ring that can allow him to just create whatever he's thinking of or whatever. Just the biggest arms that I've ever seen on a mortal man. So to have the upper hand up against other normal people, he utilizes his tactic that every single person is prone to. The overall theme of this game, fear. I mean, he is the Dark Knight for a reason, right? Within the stealth combat of this game, you can use different landmarkers inside of buildings to take down enemies. Always watching from the sky. You can swing back and forth between vantage points to always have a bird's eye view of what's going on. Most of these stealth situations, they involve you using the silent takedown, coming up from behind, sticking your fingy up the enemy's beehole, and slamming him to the ground. My absolute favorite way to take down enemies and throughout this entire game is the inverted takedown. An unlockable ability that you can purchase throughout level upgrades. You wait for the victim to come underneath, then you swoop down and then you pick them up from inside of your bat wings. You strap them to that vantage point and then you just let them dangle and hang upside down by their foot. I have no other words for this besides this is
Dope.
the ultimate Batman experience. While stealth combat is sometimes required, like that one mission where the plant people, they're being held in the cages, sometimes you can just go on an absolute cheek whooping spree if your little heart desires. The free flow combat in this game revolutionized the way combat was handled in a lot of video games going forward. So in the grand scheme of things, what is free flow combat? When you're all jazzed up, ready to take on 30 of Joker's goons at once, free flow combat activates literally like a dance of the gods. You are basically Matrix styled into these fights, punching one enemy, launching yourself into another, roundhouse kicking a dude in the face, taking down a knockdown enemy, countering another enemy's attack. This style of combat really makes you feel like a true master of martial arts, a child of the League of Shadows, grabbing the average street thug and feeding him a knuckle sandwich for breakfast. Here is a Cornborn pro gamer tip for you. When you're engaging in that free flow combat, you think that it would like automatically lock on to whatever target is nearest to you, which it sort of does, but not really to the extent that you think it does. So what you're doing is, and this might not even be a pro tip because I figured this out about 80% way through the run, and I know that that's just incredibly horrible, but you want to push down on the joystick of the direction that you want to go while you're hitting the X button or whatever button it is you use to fight. Like, that is the most efficient way to keep going and hitting combos. And yeah, I didn't know that. I didn't really even think about that. I thought it would just lock on, but whatever. So yeah, just take that into consideration. I'm gonna throw up. As I talked about with pacing earlier within the story, this style of combat really opened up pacing within the actual gameplay as well. You're switching from like a stealth mission to just total butt cheek annihilation, or just jumping from detective work to becoming the world's greatest cage fighter, all within seconds. Outside of the 3 key factors here that allowed you to feel like the Bat, there was one giant factor here that also allowed players to help them progress throughout the story, and also strap on their utility belt harness to harness their inner billionaire. The Bat Gadgets. The Bat Gadgets, they were one of the most new and exciting features that got introduced into this Arkham series. The older Batman games, sometimes they would just give you an item and give Batman an item of something that just made absolutely no sense for Batman to even have possession of. For example, like in the Batman game for the original Game Boy, they just gave him a gun. Just a gun. I don't know. In what universe would Batman be carrying a Glock and
Blowing out the back of somebody's skull all over a sidewalk.
Batman's iconic gadgets are one of the things that make him an extremely unique superhero. Like I said before, he's just a man. So some of the ways that he has to figure out how to get around Arkham is by using these gadgets that he's acquired. By being a billionaire. It's funny. It's kind of funny to think that at the end of the day, Batman is just a rich guy that just had like a tragedy happen to him. That was really it. Anyway, let's get back to the Bat Gadgets. In the beginning, you are given one of the most iconic gadgets that Batman uses throughout the entire universe. His Bat Grapple Gun. Grapple gun, it allows you to latch on to different portions of a building or inside of a building to launch you up to get a higher vantage point over the situation. Next in line to be unlocked, you are given the explosive gel that is found in the back of the Batmobile. The explosive gel, it allows you to like spray it on a wall, and it allows you to just detonate it, and it blows up pieces of walls that you can see through with the Predator vision, so you can get into places in Arkham that you initially wouldn't have had access to. And then later on in the game, you are given the Bat Claw. The Bat Claw is basically just like a gun that you shoot at items of things that are like too heavy, so like you shoot it up and you go, and you pull it back and it breaks down walls or whatever. It can pull down things that are just a little too heavy for you to handle yourself. Or you can also use them when you're like fighting enemies. You shoot at them and you pull them for it, and This gadget that gets unlocked, this is the cryptographic sequencer. After you find the warden held in captivity by Harley Quinn, basically the way that the security system works at Arkham is that there are 2 different frequencies that work with each other to be able to unlock gates. And the warden only had one half of it because Harley Quinn changed the other, but Batman, of course, he's got this like technological device that allows him to go in and hack the frequencies and stuff and get the waves right. And if it's that one, I think it's fun. And the last gadget that you get is the line launcher. This one is not really more for like fights and stuff. It's more like, let's say you're inside of the Arkham Mansion, and there's a level where this actually happens where Poison Ivy gets all jacked up and all juiced up and all wacky-dacky off that Titan juice. So she's letting off a lot of pheromones, right? She's letting off a lot of pheromones inside of the Arkham Mansion. So when you come in through the top, you can't really go down because you start choking out and like pee yourself or whatever. So let's get to the point. The line launcher, it basically shoots a zip line from one point of a wall to another, and you hop on it, and then you work your way down across from one point to another. Thank you. The fact that so many gadgets here were actually implemented in the story is like a huge factor of something about what makes Arkham feel so unique when it comes to being a Batman game. Because as a character, half of what always kind of defined him was that fancy belt that he had loaded with gadgets. Like the Bat Shark Repellent Spray. Taking these different gadgets and devices into the game, it was really one of the best ways that they could implement a really true immersive feeling of playing as Batman. Look, when you combine the detective work, you add in that free flow combat, you harness in that stealth-based approach to the game, the implementation of his gadgets, this was really like the first time where you took all of those factors together and you put them all in one game, and you showed the world what a truly holistic view of what a Batman game should look like. All of those things combined, that's what makes the gameplay so dope. With the combination of one of the best original stories ever written for a video game, in my opinion, ever, the incredible use of modern technology with the Xbox 360 and the PlayStation 3, and some of this stylized gothic art, the combination of stealth, combat, and detective gameplay styles, it makes Arkham Asylum absolutely one of the greats. Mind you, and in the context of Arkham games, this was like just a warm-up for Rocksteady. This was them just trying to make a game but having absolutely zero clue on the type of cultural impact that it would have across the entire world. And after like seeing its success, they followed it up with an absolute banger game, which was Arkham City. It took everything good that Arkham Asylum had and it turned it up to 11. Open world, new and returning villains, incredible storyline by our GOAT, Paul. Rocksteady, they were truly on fire during this stretch of time. And I may even have to make a video about Arkham City too. Who knows? I know. I probably will. All right, look, this game, it's incredibly dope. All right, you gotta play this game. This is the beginning of one of the greatest superhero game franchises of all time. And I would even argue one of the greatest just game franchises of all time. There are a variety of ways that you can play this game. The obvious options here are the consoles that they were initially released on. So that's the PlayStation 3, the Xbox, and the PC. Since this game and its franchise was so extremely popular, they re-released, actually they remastered this game, and you can go buy it now as Arkham, or it's like Batman Return to Arkham. Yeah. And to be real, most of the time these games are on sale for literally pennies on the dollar. To make this video, I bought the entire Arkham collection on Steam, on PC, for $9. That is literally the same price as a Subway footlong for hundreds of hours of entertainment. All right, look, did you watch MeTV growing up? If so, what is your favorite show from the 50s through the 90s? Do you love going to the library too? Are you a scalper? If so, why aren't you ruining a child's life right now? Let me know in the comments. And as always, this channel was made to promote my band. Go listen to our album, Destined to Conquer, right now. All right, this is it. Cornborn, signing out.